When the final breath leaves the body, does the soul immediately disappear into another world, or does it remain nearby, watching the people it loves gather around its lifeless form? Ancient Vedic wisdom offers an answer far more mysterious than a simple number of hours or days. It teaches that death is not a single moment, but a sacred transition in which the soul gradually releases the body, its earthly identity, and the attachments formed throughout life. Some souls move onward peacefully, while others remain connected to the earthly realm through confusion, desire, fear, or unfinished love. But how long can this connection last? Can the departed soul hear your prayers, witness its funeral, or feel the grief of those left behind? Stay until the final lesson, because you will discover not only what may happen to the soul after death, but also the one thing grieving families should never do if they truly want their loved one to move forward in peace. Lesson 1. Death is not one moment. It is a sacred separation. To the eyes of the living, death appears to happen in a single moment. The breath stops, the heart becomes silent, and the person who was speaking only moments ago can no longer respond. Yet Vedic wisdom teaches that what we call death may be only the visible beginning of a deeper and more mysterious separation. Throughout life, the subtle being remains connected to the physical body through prana, the vital force that empowers the senses, mind, and organs. As death approaches, this life energy begins withdrawing from the outer body. The hands lose their strength, the senses become distant, the breath changes, and consciousness gradually releases the physical instrument it has used throughout an entire lifetime. This is why the soul's departure should not be measured only by the final heartbeat. The body may have become still, yet the departing consciousness may still be passing through an inward transition that no physical eye can witness. Imagine living inside one home from childhood until old age. Every room carries your memories, every wall has heard your voice, and everything familiar is connected to that place. Then, without warning, you must leave it forever. Even after stepping outside, part of your awareness may still turn back toward the house. The soul's relationship with the body may be similar. Through this body, it experienced love, pain, family, ambition, pleasure, fear, worship, and regret. When that connection suddenly ends, the individual consciousness may not immediately understand that physical life is complete, especially after an unexpected death. It may still feel connected to its name, face, family, responsibilities, or unfinished desires. It may attempt to return to what was familiar, only to discover that the body can no longer respond. But this does not mean the eternal self is permanently trapped inside the corpse. The Atman was never created by the body and cannot be destroyed when the body dies. The body is the garment. The soul is the traveler. The garment may fall in a moment, but the traveler's release from everything associated with it can unfold as a sacred process. For some souls, this separation may happen peacefully and quickly. For others, attachment, fear, confusion, or sudden death may make the transition feel longer. Therefore, the first hours after death should be surrounded by calmness, prayer, and sacred remembrance. The family may grieve, but it should avoid arguments, panic, or desperate cries demanding that the departed return. If the soul remains aware of the earthly atmosphere, let the final message it receives be one of peace. Your body has completed its purpose. Release it without fear. Carry our love as a blessing and continue toward the light awaiting you. The first golden truth is this: death may stop the body in a single moment, but the soul's journey does not end there. What appears to us as an ending may be the first step of an invisible passage into eternity. Lesson 2. The soul may remain close during the first hours. What does the soul experience immediately after leaving the body? Does it recognize that death has occurred? Or does it remain near the place where its earthly life ended? Vedic and later Hindu traditions suggest that during the first hours after death, the departed consciousness may remain connected to the body, the family, or the familiar surroundings it has just left. This does not mean every soul stands beside its body in exactly the same way. It means that consciousness may require time to understand and release an identity it carried for an entire lifetime. This experience may be especially intense when death arrives suddenly. A person who prepared inwardly for death through devotion, meditation, and surrender may recognize the transition more peacefully. But someone whose life ends without warning may initially remain confused, still feeling connected to the body and the world that disappeared in a single moment. The soul may perceive relatives gathering, crying, calling its name, or touching the body. It may try to respond, but discover that its voice can no longer be heard, and its physical hands can no longer reach the people it loves. Imagine the confusion of seeing everything familiar while being unable to participate in it. The home remains, the family remains, and the unfinished duties remain, but the instrument needed to interact with them has stopped working. This is why the atmosphere surrounding the body is considered spiritually important. Loud arguments, desperate screaming, and constant demands for the person to return may create greater emotional disturbance. Grief is natural, and tears should never be treated as a weakness, but love must eventually become strong enough to release what it cannot physically keep. Instead of repeatedly crying, "Do not leave us," the family can offer a calmer and more compassionate message. "Your earthly journey is complete. Do not be afraid. We will carry the love you gave us, and we will complete the duties that remain. Release this body and continue peacefully toward divine light." Such words are not a magical command, nor are they proof that the departed hears every sentence exactly as a living person would. Their power comes from sacred intention. They transform the energy of the room from panic into prayer and help the living surrender their desire to hold the soul near. However, no ancient teaching gives one fixed number of hours that applies to every departed being. A peaceful and spiritually prepared consciousness may move forward quickly. Another soul may remain oriented toward earthly life because of powerful desires, fear, possessiveness, or unfinished responsibilities. The nature of death can influence the first stage of transition, but it does not decide the soul's ultimate destination. A sudden death does not automatically imprison a soul, just as a peaceful death does not automatically create moksha. The deeper direction is shaped by the consciousness developed throughout life, its karma, attachments, devotion, understanding, and final tendencies. The second golden truth is this: if the soul remains close during the first hours, do not surround it only with the pain of losing the body. Surround it with prayers that remind it of the path ahead. The greatest final act of love is not calling the departed backward, it is giving them permission to move forward without fear. Wolindob Lesson 3. Why the first 3 days are spiritually sensitive. The first 3 days after death are treated with great care in many Hindu traditions because the departed consciousness may still be loosening its connection to the body, the home, and the identity it carried throughout life. Physical death has occurred, but the subtle journey may still be unfolding beyond the sight of the family. For decades, the soul experienced the world through one name, one face, and one physical form. It awakened in the same body, recognized the same relatives, returned to the same home, and performed the same responsibilities. When all of this disappears in a single moment, the consciousness may remain drawn toward what feels familiar, especially when death arrived suddenly. The soul may return toward the home because its strongest memories live there. It may be drawn toward the family because deep emotional bonds remain active. It may remain concerned about children, property, unfinished promises, or duties that can no longer be completed. But this temporary closeness does not necessarily mean the soul is permanently trapped. It may simply be learning to release a world it once believed was its only reality. This is why the atmosphere during the first days should be peaceful and sacred. A lamp may be kept burning, prayers may be recited, and the name of the divine may be remembered. These practices do not force the soul into another realm. They create a current of calmness that reminds the departing consciousness that a greater light exists beyond the body. The sacred fire used during cremation also carries a profound message. Fire returns the physical form to the five elements and makes the separation undeniable. The body that once walked, spoke, loved, and suffered can no longer be entered again. Earth returns to earth, water to water, fire to fire, air to air, and space to space. But the conscious traveler continues. The flames do not destroy the soul. They destroy the illusion that the physical form was its permanent home. During this sensitive period, the family should be careful not to turn love into a chain, repeatedly begging the departed to return, fighting over possessions beside the body, or filling the home with blame and anger may strengthen the very attachments the soul needs to release. Tears are natural, but even through tears, the heart can offer peace. Say gently, "We will remember you. We will complete the duties you could not finish, and we will care for those you loved." You do not need to remain here through fear or responsibility. Continue your journey under divine guidance. These words also heal the living. They teach the grieving heart that love does not end when possession ends. True love does not imprison the departed within our pain. It becomes a blessing that travels beyond the boundary of death. The third golden truth is this: the first days after death are not only a time for mourning, they are a sacred bridge between one world and the next. Surround that bridge with prayer instead of panic, forgiveness instead of regret, and love powerful enough to say, "Go forward in peace." Lesson 4. The mystery of the 13-day journey. Among all the teachings surrounding death, one question creates more curiosity than almost any other. Does the soul truly remain near its home and family for 13 days? Many Hindu families observe a sacred period of 13 days after death. During this time, prayers are offered, lamps are lit, food and water may be presented symbolically, charity is performed, and relatives gather to honor the departed. Because of these traditions, many people believe that the soul lives invisibly inside the home for exactly 13 days and leaves only after the final ceremony. But the deeper teaching is far more profound. The earliest Vedic and Upanishadic wisdom does not describe one identical 13-day timetable for every soul. The detailed understanding of this transitional period appears more clearly in later Hindu texts and ritual traditions. These teachings describe the departed being as passing through an intermediate state, sometimes called the preta condition, while its connection to the physical identity is gradually transformed. The word preta should not immediately create fear. It does not automatically mean an evil or frightening spirit. In this context, it refers to a departed consciousness that has left its physical body but has not yet become established in its next condition. Imagine a traveler who has left one country but has not yet reached the next. The old home lies behind, while the final destination remains ahead. The traveler is no longer a resident of the first place, but the new place has not yet been fully entered. The 13-day period symbolizes this mysterious crossing. During physical life, the soul expresses itself through the gross body, the visible form made of flesh, bone, blood, and the five elements. Yet Vedic thought also speaks of a subtle body carrying the mind, senses, desires, tendencies, and karmic impressions. When the physical body dies, these subtle impressions do not necessarily disappear at once. They travel with the individual consciousness and influence what happens next. This explains why death does not instantly make every soul completely peaceful, wise, or liberated. The body may have fallen away, but anger, fear, attachment, devotion, love, and desire may still leave impressions upon consciousness. A selfish person does not automatically become selfless at the moment of death, and a sincere lifetime of spiritual practice is not suddenly erased because the body stopped breathing. The soul carries the inner direction developed while living. Traditional rites performed during the 13 days are therefore not meant to feed a physical person hiding invisibly inside the house. Their deeper purpose is to support the soul symbolically and spiritually while helping the family transform its relationship with the departed. Offerings of water represent purification, peace, and the continuation of loving responsibility. Food offerings represent nourishment for the journey and gratitude for the life that was shared. Mantras create an atmosphere of sacred remembrance. Charity performed in the departed person's name transforms personal grief into service for another living being. When a grieving family feeds the hungry, cares for an animal, helps a poor student, or supports someone in need, love is no longer trapped inside sorrow. It becomes compassionate action. The departed person's memory begins producing goodness in the world, and the living discover that they can still honor the relationship without demanding the person's physical return. Each day of the mourning period also teaches the family a difficult truth. The departed cannot resume their former role. The father can no longer physically protect the household. The mother can no longer answer when her children call. The husband or wife can no longer complete shared plans. The child can no longer grow into the future the parents imagined. The body has completed its participation in earthly life, and the family must slowly learn to carry love without physical presence. This is one reason ritual unfolds over several days, instead of ending in a single hour. Human grief cannot always understand death as quickly as fire transforms the body. The funeral may finish, yet the heart still expects the door to open and the familiar voice to return. Sacred observance gives the mind time to move from shock toward acceptance. But does the soul remain physically close for every one of those 13 days? No human being can observe the subtle world with a clock and prove that every soul follows the same pattern. A spiritually prepared consciousness may release its earthly identity quickly. Another soul may remain strongly oriented toward family, possessions, or unfinished duties. A third may already be experiencing a realm beyond anything the living can recognize as near or far. Distance in the subtle world may not function like physical distance. A soul does not need to stand inside one room in order to remain connected through memory, attachment, or karmic relationship. The 13 days should therefore be understood as a sacred period of transition rather than an exact imprisonment beside the corpse. The soul is not waiting for the 13th sunrise because the universe refuses to open the next door sooner. Nor does missing one ritual automatically condemn the departed to endless wandering. Divine order is greater than human imperfection, and the soul's destiny is shaped by far more than whether every ceremony was performed perfectly. Karma matters, the condition of consciousness matters. The desires carried at death matter. The quality of the person's life matters. Sincere devotion, spiritual understanding, compassion, and surrender matter. Ritual can support the journey, but it does not replace the entire moral and spiritual direction of a lifetime. This teaching is especially important for families who could not perform every traditional rite because of distance, poverty, disaster, sudden death, or circumstances beyond their control. They should not live with the terror that one missed ceremony has permanently trapped someone they love. A sincere prayer offered with humility may hold more spiritual meaning than an elaborate ritual performed without love. Charity offered quietly in the departed person's memory may become a powerful expression of compassion. Forgiving an old conflict, caring for the people they left behind, or completing one of their noble intentions may become a living offering. The final day of the traditional period marks an important transformation. The family no longer addresses the departed primarily as an embodied member of the household. They bless the soul to continue toward the ancestors, another realm, another birth, or whatever destination its karma and consciousness have prepared. This moment contains both pain and liberation. The living acknowledge, you belong to our family, but you were never our possession. You lived through a body we could see, but your journey is greater than the form we knew. We release you from the duties you can no longer perform, and we release ourselves from waiting for your physical return. If the departed consciousness remains attached, such a blessing may become a gentle message of freedom. If the soul has already moved onward, the prayer still purifies the hearts of those who remain. In either case, the ritual teaches love to become spacious enough to accept separation. Therefore, never use the 13-day teaching to frighten grieving people. Do not tell a mother that her child is certainly wandering helplessly through the house. Do not tell a family that their loved one is condemned because one ceremony was delayed. Do not turn sacred mystery into fear. The purpose of Vedic wisdom is not to imprison the mind within superstition. It is to guide consciousness from ignorance toward understanding, from panic toward prayer, and from possessive grief toward sacred surrender. During these 13 days, speak gently about the departed. Avoid fighting over possessions, property, or inheritance. Do not fill the home with blame, greed, and bitterness while claiming to honor the soul. Let the person's death remind the family that every possession will eventually be left behind, and every conflict will one day appear painfully small. Gather with sincerity. Remember the goodness they gave. Acknowledge the pain that still needs healing. Offer forgiveness where possible. Serve another being in their name. Let sacred remembrance become stronger than fear. Then, when the final prayer is offered, say within the heart, "You are no longer bound to this home, this body, or the responsibilities of your former life. We thank you for the love and lessons you gave us. Carry what is pure, release what is unfinished, and move toward the destination prepared by divine wisdom. If another birth awaits, may it bring you closer to awakening. If a higher realm awaits, may you enter it without fear. If liberation has ripened, may every remaining chain fall away." The fourth golden truth is this: the 13 days do not represent a soul being trapped inside the world it left. They represent a bridge of prayer across which love slowly releases possession. When the family performs these days with wisdom, the departed is not pulled backward by despair, and the living are not imprisoned inside the final moment of death. The body has returned to the elements. The visible relationship has changed. But love, purified of fear and attachment, becomes a blessing that can reach beyond every boundary the human eye can see. Lesson 5. Attachment decides how strongly the soul remains connected. If the body has already died, what could possibly keep the soul near the earthly world? It is not a locked door, an invisible wall, or a divine punishment. According to Vedic wisdom, one of the strongest forces binding consciousness to the world it has left is attachment. The hands may no longer hold possessions, the eyes may no longer see the family, and the voice may no longer command the household, yet the inner feeling of mine can continue within the subtle consciousness. Throughout life, people say, "My body, my home, my wealth, my family, my success, my reputation, my pain, and my unfinished plans." This language appears ordinary, but beneath it may be a powerful identity built upon possession. When death removes everything that was called mine, consciousness must confront a truth it may have avoided for an entire lifetime. None of these things could ever be owned permanently. The body was borrowed from nature. Wealth was temporarily placed in our hands. Relationships were sacred meetings, not eternal possessions. Status existed only in the minds of other people. Even the name by which the world recognized us belonged to one lifetime. Death does not create this truth. Death reveals it. A spiritually prepared person has already begun recognizing this while living. They may love their home, protect their family, fulfill their responsibilities, and appreciate material blessings, but somewhere within, they understand, these things have been entrusted to me. They are not the eternal self. Such a person can participate fully in life without believing that life belongs to them forever. When death arrives, surrender is painful, but it is not completely unfamiliar. Consciousness has practiced releasing control many times before. Another person may build their entire identity upon temporary things. They may believe that the family cannot survive without them, that wealth has value only while they possess it, and that the home must remain exactly as they commanded. Even while alive, they cannot tolerate change because every change feels like a threat to the identity they created. When death comes, the body falls away, but this need to control may remain as a powerful impression. The person may no longer be able to manage the household, yet consciousness may still feel responsible for everything happening there. The soul may remain emotionally oriented toward the family, not only because of love, but because it has not accepted that its earthly role has ended. This is why attachment must not be confused with love. Love blesses another person's journey, even when that journey brings separation. Attachment demands that the person remain available to satisfy our emotional needs. Love can say, "May you be peaceful, even if I cannot keep you." Attachment says, "You must stay because I cannot accept life without you." Love protects without claiming ownership. Attachment turns protection into control. Love remembers with gratitude. Attachment remembers with desperation. Love becomes spacious enough to release the form, while attachment keeps trying to pull the form back. A mother's love for her child can be one of the purest forces in human life, yet even that love must eventually recognize that the child is a soul with an individual karmic journey. A husband and wife may share decades of devotion, but neither can accompany the other physically beyond death. Parents, children, friends, and companions walk beside one another for part of the road. Eventually, every traveler reaches a doorway that must be crossed alone. This does not make relationships meaningless. It makes them sacred. Their value comes not from physical permanence, but from the transformation they create within consciousness. If a relationship taught you patience, that patience remains. If someone awakened compassion within you, that compassion remains. If love helped you overcome selfishness, that growth remains. If suffering taught forgiveness, that wisdom remains. The physical relationship changes, but its karmic and spiritual effects continue. However, when a relationship is built upon fear, control, jealousy, or emotional dependence, death may expose those chains more intensely. The living may desperately call the departed backward, while the departed consciousness may remain concerned about those left behind. Both sides become connected through an atmosphere of refusal. Imagine a father who spent his entire life saying, "Without me, this family will collapse." He managed every decision, controlled every expense, and never taught his children to stand independently. If death comes suddenly, his body is gone, but the belief, "They cannot survive without me," may remain strong within his subtle mind. At the same time, the family may cry, "How will we live without you? Please come back. Do not leave us." Their grief confirms the very attachment he carried. The soul feels responsible, and the family feels helpless. Love exists, but fear has surrounded it. The most compassionate response is to break this circle through spiritual courage. The family can say, "You prepared us through everything you taught. We will support one another and complete the responsibilities that remain. You no longer need to protect us through attachment. Go forward peacefully." These words do not erase grief, but they remove a burden from love. Attachment to wealth can become equally powerful. A person may spend an entire lifetime gathering land, gold, houses, and possessions, while believing that security can be built permanently in the physical world. Yet death arrives without asking how much has been accumulated. The keys remain behind. The property documents remain behind. The treasure remains behind. The body itself remains behind. Only the consciousness shaped through acquiring and using those things continues. Wealth used with generosity may have expanded the heart. Wealth used through greed may have strengthened fear. The money does not travel, but the inner condition created by the money does. A wealthy person who treated possessions as tools for service may leave the world more freely than a poor person who spent life burning with envy. Attachment is not measured by how much someone owns. It is measured by how much their identity depends upon ownership. A person may possess a palace without being spiritually possessed by it. Another may own only one small object, yet be unable to release it. The chain exists within consciousness, not inside the object. The same is true of reputation. Some people live completely through the opinions of others. They need to be remembered as powerful, successful, beautiful, intelligent, or spiritually superior. Their physical body dies, but the desire to control how the world speaks about them may remain. They may be disturbed by criticism after death, or attached to praise offered during memorials. Yet praise and blame belong to the world of changing minds. One generation honors a person, another forgets them. A name carved into stone may survive for centuries, but even the stone will eventually turn to dust. The soul cannot find liberation through being remembered by the world. It finds freedom by awakening from the false identity that needed the world's approval. Unfinished desires can create another kind of attachment. A person may die while desperately wanting one more achievement, one more possession, one more experience, one more victory, or one more chance to defeat an enemy. The body's ability to fulfill the desire disappears, but the desire itself may continue as a subtle force. Vedic philosophy describes desire as one of the powers directing rebirth. Consciousness moves toward the conditions through which its strongest tendencies can seek expression again. What a person repeatedly thinks about, longs for, fears and worships does not remain a harmless private habit. It gradually shapes the direction of the subtle being. A later sacred story tells of King Bharata, a ruler who renounced his kingdom to pursue spiritual realization. He withdrew from worldly power and practiced deeply, yet near the end of his life he became intensely attached to a young deer he had rescued. His care slowly turned into obsessive concern. At the moment of death, his mind remained fixed upon the animal, and the story teaches that this powerful final attachment influenced his next birth. The lesson is not that kindness toward animals is dangerous. Compassion is sacred. The warning is that even something innocent can become a binding attachment when consciousness forgets its highest purpose. The object of attachment may be noble, but the chain is created when the mind cannot rest without it. This is why preparation for death cannot begin only when the body becomes weak. The final thought is not usually chosen like selecting one flower from a garden. It grows from the seeds planted repeatedly throughout life. A mind that worshipped money every day may not suddenly become detached in its final hour. A mind that practiced resentment may return to the memory of an enemy. A mind that lived through fear may cling to the body when the body begins disappearing. But a consciousness that practiced devotion, truth, service and surrender has created another pathway. When death removes control, it can move toward what has already become familiar. The soul's nearness to the body is therefore not determined only by time. It is determined by orientation. Consciousness may no longer be physically connected to the corpse, yet it can remain psychologically and karmically turned toward earthly life because its strongest desires still point backward. This is similar to leaving a house while constantly looking over your shoulder. Your feet may be moving forward, but your attention remains behind. The spiritual journey begins to flow more freely when the soul no longer attempts to reclaim what death has already released. The grieving family can help by refusing to strengthen those attachments. If the departed was possessive about wealth, do not fight over the inheritance beside their memory. Use part of what remains for a noble purpose. If the person feared that the family would collapse, demonstrate unity. If an apology remained unspoken, offer forgiveness inwardly. If they carried guilt about an unfinished responsibility, complete it where possible without blaming them. Suppose someone promised to support an elderly parent but died before fulfilling that promise. Another family member can continue the act of care and say within the heart, "The duty you could not complete has not been abandoned. We will carry it forward. You may release your worry." Suppose a parent died concerned about a child's education. The family can cooperate to protect that child's future. Their action becomes more powerful than endlessly repeating, "Why did you leave us?" Suppose the departed left behind unresolved conflict. The living can refuse to continue the hatred. When a family pattern of anger ends, the person's death becomes an unexpected doorway through which several lives begin healing. This is how unfinished attachment can be transformed into completed love. Yet the family must also recognize its limits. You cannot live every unfinished dream of the departed. You cannot complete every plan, repair every relationship, or fulfill every desire they carried. Attempting to do so can transfer their bondage into your own life. Complete what is righteous and possible. Release what was based on ego, control, or impossible expectations. Honor the soul without becoming imprisoned by the personality it once expressed. If a father demanded that his child follow a life path that destroys the child's inner truth, death does not make that demand sacred. If a family tradition carries cruelty, continuing it does not honor the ancestors. True respect does not mean preserving every attachment. Sometimes the greatest spiritual offering is ending a harmful pattern that previous generations could not release. The living also carry attachment to the body of the departed. The face appears familiar, yet the presence that animated it has withdrawn. The mind struggles to understand how the same hands can remain while their warmth disappears, or how the same eyes can remain while awareness no longer looks through them. This is one of grief's deepest shocks. We knew the person through the body, so the mind believes the body was the person. Vedic wisdom gently separates these two realities. The physical form was precious because consciousness expressed itself through it, but the form was never the complete being. When the breath stops, the instrument remains, but the song is no longer there. We may honor the flute, yet we should not confuse it with the musician or the music. In the same way, the body deserves dignity, but the soul must be allowed to continue. This understanding does not make cremation cold or emotionless. It makes it an act of truth. The family returns the body to nature, while acknowledging that the conscious traveler cannot be preserved by preserving the physical form. Attachment can also arise through guilt. A grieving person may think, "I should have called one more time. I should have apologized. I should have noticed the illness. I should have prevented the accident. I should have said I loved them." Some regret may reveal a real responsibility and teach the living to change. But endless self-punishment does not help the departed. It ties memory to suffering and prevents love from becoming a blessing. If you caused harm, acknowledge it honestly. Ask forgiveness in prayer. Repair the consequences where possible, then change your conduct. Let the apology become visible through the person you now choose to be. If you could not prevent what happened, stop trying to become more powerful than time, karma, and mortality. Human beings do not control every ending. Love does not grant complete authority over another person's lifespan. Say, "I wish I had done more, but I release the illusion that I controlled everything. May the love beneath my regret reach you as peace. I will honor you by living with greater awareness." The departed may also have caused pain. Death does not erase what happened, and forgiveness should not require pretending that every memory was beautiful. You can recognize the person's humanity, release the desire for revenge, and still maintain truth about the harm they created. You may say, "I will not carry your wounds as hatred for the rest of my life. I return your actions to the law of karma, and I choose not to become another expression of the pain you gave me." This release frees both memory and consciousness from an endless repetition of suffering. The deepest attachment of all is attachment to the ego, the belief that I am this separate personality and everything exists in relation to me. Wealth, family, power, fear, and desire become binding because the ego places itself at the center of them. The Upanishadic path points beyond this limited identity toward Atman, the eternal self that is not born when the body is born and does not die when the body dies. As awareness of the self deepens, Attachment weakens because consciousness no longer searches for permanence within temporary forms. This does not produce indifference. A realized person may love more deeply because fear no longer poisons love. They can be fully present without attempting to freeze another being in time. They understand that every meeting is sacred precisely because no physical meeting lasts forever. The person who remembers death does not stop loving. They stop postponing love. They speak gratitude while the other person can still hear it. They apologize while repair remains possible. They sit with their parents before the chairs become empty. They listen to their children before childhood disappears. They release small conflicts before death makes reconciliation impossible. This is how the teaching about the soul's attachment becomes a guide for the living. Do not wait until someone dies to begin releasing control. Do not wait beside a funeral fire to discover that pride was never worth years of silence. Practice non-attachment now, not by abandoning responsibility, but by removing possession from love. Care deeply, serve sincerely, protect wisely, and then surrender what you cannot control. When success comes, receive it without building your identity upon it. When wealth comes, use it without allowing it to own your heart. When relationships come, honor them without demanding that their physical forms remain forever. When loss comes, grieve without turning grief into a prison for yourself or the departed. Each act of conscious release prepares the soul for its final departure. Every time you forgive, a chain weakens. Every time you surrender pride, a chain weakens. Every time you give without demanding recognition, a chain weakens. Every time you observe desire without becoming its servant, a chain weakens. Then, when death comes, consciousness is not being asked to perform a completely unfamiliar act. It has practiced letting go throughout life. The fifth golden truth is this: the soul does not remain connected to the earthly world because death lacks power to move it forward. It remains connected because attachment continues pointing its awareness backward. The body may be released through fire in a few hours, yet the idea of mine can survive much longer within consciousness. Therefore, if you love someone who has died, do not strengthen the chains they must release. Do not call them back through endless despair. Do not preserve family conflict in their name. Do not turn their possessions into a battlefield. Tell them with courage, nothing you truly gave us has been lost. Your love has entered our character. Your lessons remain within our lives, and your noble duties will continue through our hands. You are no longer required to remain near this body, this house, or these possessions. Move forward without fear, then turn the same teaching toward yourself. Ask what you are holding so tightly that death would need to tear it from your consciousness. Ask which desire rules your mind, which possession defines your identity, and which relationship has become a form of control. Release the chain while your hands are still warm enough to open. Love while your voice can still speak. Serve while your body can still act. Awaken before death forces surrender upon you. The soul that learns to release while living does not meet death as a thief stealing everything. It meets death as a doorway through which only the temporary must be left behind. Beyond that doorway, the possessions disappear, the body returns to nature, and the earthly name begins fading. But the consciousness shaped through every choice continues toward the destination it has prepared. Lesson 6. Can the departed soul hear your words and feel your grief? After someone dies, the living often continue speaking to them. A mother sits beside her child's photograph and whispers, "Can you hear me?" A husband enters an empty room and speaks to the wife who once waited there. A daughter stands beside the funeral fire and finally says the words pride prevented her from saying while her father was alive. Will me sins podiend. The body gives no response, yet the heart refuses to believe that years of love could become complete silence in one moment. This creates one of the most haunting questions surrounding death. If the soul remains close during the early stage of transition, Can it hear the family calling its name? Can it receive an apology offered too late? Can it feel the love, fear, and unbearable grief filling the home it has left? Vedic wisdom teaches that consciousness does not depend entirely upon the physical body, but this does not mean the departed soul hears exactly as it did through physical ears. The ears belonged to the body, the brain interpreted physical sound. When those instruments stop functioning, ordinary hearing ends. Yet the subtle being is described as carrying the mind, memories, tendencies, desires, and impressions formed throughout life. If consciousness continues beyond the body, then communication may no longer depend upon sound traveling through the air. A sincere prayer may reach the departed not as an audible sentence, but as spiritual intention, remembrance, or a subtle movement of love. This is why sacred traditions have never treated words spoken for the departed as meaningless. Families recite mantras, offer prayers, perform shraddha, remember divine names, and speak blessings over the soul's journey. These actions are not performed because the corpse can hear them. They are performed because the conscious traveler is believed to be greater than the corpse. But we must approach this mystery with humility. No living person should claim with absolute certainty, "Your departed loved one heard every word you said at this exact moment." The subtle world cannot be measured through ordinary senses, and each soul may be passing through a different condition. Some souls may remain oriented toward their earthly relationships for a time, while others may already have moved into an experience far beyond the family's reach. The purpose of prayer is not to force a response. It is to offer peace without demanding proof. Imagine standing on the shore while someone you love travels across a vast river. At first, they may still be close enough to recognize your voice. As they move farther away, your words can no longer reach them in the ordinary way, yet the blessing with which you released them remains part of their departure. You do not need to swim after the boat or pull it backward. You stand on the shore, raise your hands, and pray that the traveler reaches the other side safely. This is how the living should speak to the departed. Do not speak as though love has been destroyed. Speak as though love is changing its form. Do not command the soul to remain near you. Bless it to move forward. Do not say, "I refuse to let you go." Say, "I will carry what was beautiful between us, but I release you from the body you can no longer use." If the departed soul can perceive the family during the early transition, imagine what it might experience when everyone is screaming, fighting, blaming one another, or begging the person to return. The soul may already be confused by the loss of its body. The family's panic could strengthen its orientation toward the world it needs to release. This does not mean people must hide their tears. Grief is not a sin, and Vedic wisdom does not ask the heart to become stone. Tears are the body's honest response when love loses its familiar form. A person who has shared decades of life with someone cannot be expected to stand beside the body without emotion. The danger is not grief itself. The danger is grief becoming possession. There is a difference between crying, "I love you, and this separation hurts," and crying, "You are not allowed to leave because I cannot exist without you." The first honors the relationship. The second may turn love into a demand. A departed parent may feel concerned when children insist they cannot survive without them. A departed spouse may remain oriented toward the home when the partner refuses to accept any future without their physical presence. A soul that already carried strong responsibility may struggle to release it when the family constantly repeats that everything has collapsed. The most powerful words the family can offer are words of reassurance. Tell the departed, "We will care for one another. We will fulfill the righteous duties that remain. We will not allow your absence to destroy the love you spent your life building. You are free to continue your journey." These words give strength to both the soul and the family. They do not deny pain. They place pain within a larger spiritual truth. The soul's earthly duties have ended. The living must now perform the duties of the living. This is particularly important when a person dies carrying worry. A mother may have feared for her children. A father may have worried about debt, education, or the family's safety. An elder may have feared that relatives would fight after their death. If the family immediately falls into conflict, the atmosphere becomes filled with the exact attachment the person carried. But if the family stands together and says, "We will not turn your departure into a battlefield," something sacred happens. The departed person's fear is not fed. Their death becomes a reason for unity rather than division. Suppose two brothers stopped speaking years before their mother died. During her life, she repeatedly prayed that they would forgive one another. At her funeral, both stand near the same sacred fire, still holding the same pride. If they continue the conflict, they preserve the pain she carried. But if one brother finally crosses the distance and embraces the other, the mother's unfinished prayer becomes complete through the living. No one can prove exactly what the departed soul perceives in that moment, but the spiritual meaning is undeniable. A chain of suffering ends. A noble intention survives the body. Love becomes action. This is one of the highest ways to communicate with the dead. Do not only speak words toward them. Become the answer to the goodness they hoped would continue. If your departed father valued honesty, live more truthfully. If your mother served the poor, continue one act of service in her memory. If your teacher gave wisdom, share that wisdom without claiming it as your own. If your friend protected animals, care for a suffering creature. If your child brought gentleness into the family, refuse to let grief make your heart cruel. Then your life becomes a prayer the departed does not need physical ears to receive. Many people also wonder whether constant crying causes pain to the soul. This belief should never be used to shame a grieving person. Telling someone, "Your tears are hurting the departed," can create guilt on top of unbearable loss. Human beings need time to mourn, and sorrow cannot always be controlled through instruction. A wiser teaching is this: allow your tears to flow, but do not allow them to become the only offering you give. Cry, and then pray. Grieve, and then serve. Remember, and then release. Let sorrow move through the heart, instead of building a permanent home inside it. The soul does not need the family to pretend that nothing happened. It needs love to become mature enough to bless what it cannot keep. Sometimes grief becomes strongest because of words left unspoken. A person dies before an apology is offered, before forgiveness is requested, or before affection is expressed. The living mind then repeats the same painful sentence: "If only I had one more moment." One more moment would indeed be precious, but physical time cannot be reopened. The door through which the person departed does not move backward because the heart has finally found its words. Yet the unspoken truth can still be offered in prayer. Sit in a quiet place. Light a sacred lamp if that belongs to your tradition. Calm the breath and speak honestly, without performance. "I am sorry for the pain I caused you. Pride kept me silent while you were here, but I now see what my silence created. I cannot change the past, yet I can allow this regret to transform my future. If my words can reach you in any way, receive them as truth. If they cannot, may the change in my life become the apology I failed to give. Then live differently." An apology that changes nothing is only another sound. An apology that transforms conduct becomes spiritual action. If you ignored a parent, become more present with the people who remain. If anger damaged a relationship, learn to pause before wounding another person. If greed created conflict, use part of what you possess for compassionate service. If you withheld love, begin expressing gratitude before another opportunity disappears. In this way, the departed becomes a silent teacher. Their absence reveals what the living must no longer postpone. The same principle applies when you need to forgive the dead. Sometimes the person who died caused deep wounds. Perhaps they were controlling, dishonest, emotionally absent, or cruel. Society may pressure the family to speak only of goodness after death, as though the ending of the body erased every harmful action. Vedic understanding does not require falsehood. Karma does not disappear because a funeral has occurred. You can honor the soul's journey while remaining truthful about what happened. Forgiveness does not mean declaring that the harm was acceptable. It means refusing to let the departed person's actions continue controlling your consciousness. You may say, "You caused pain that I carried for years. I will not pretend it did not happen, but I also refuse to carry hatred into every future relationship. I return your actions to the law of karma. I release my desire for revenge, and I choose to end this suffering within myself." Such forgiveness may not happen in one day. It may require years of honest healing, but every step toward freedom breaks a subtle chain between your consciousness and the painful memory of the departed. Prayer for the dead should not become a denial of justice. If the person caused harm, help those who are still suffering. If their actions created a family wound, repair what can be repaired. Truth is also an offering. Some grieving people desperately seek signs. They ask the departed to move an object, appear in a dream, create a sound, or send a particular bird. When anything unusual happens, they interpret it as proof that the soul is nearby. The desire is understandable. The heart wants evidence that the relationship has not vanished. But constant searching can prevent grief from becoming surrender. The person begins living between every shadow and sound, unable to continue ordinary life because they are waiting for the dead to return in another form. Vedic wisdom encourages reverence for mystery, not obsession with signs. A dream may arise from memory. A familiar fragrance may awaken an emotional association. A sound in the home may have a natural cause. A coincidence may feel meaningful without being a direct supernatural message. Some dreams may carry unusual peace or clarity, and many people experience them as sacred. Receive such experiences gently, but do not build your entire spiritual life upon interpreting them. The value of a dream should be judged by what it produces within you. If it creates peace, compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance, receive its blessing. If it creates terror, obsession, or the need to abandon your responsibilities, step back and return to grounded spiritual practice. No genuine message of love should require you to destroy your life. The departed does not need you to stop caring for your body, neglect your children, abandon your duties, or live permanently inside a dark room. If someone truly loved you, the highest way to honor that love is not to follow them into death emotionally. It is to allow what they gave you to become strength for the life that remains. This is why attempting to force contact with departed souls can be spiritually dangerous. Grief makes the mind vulnerable. A person may believe every inner voice comes from the dead, or trust anyone who claims to deliver messages from the unseen world. Fear and longing can make deception appear sacred. Do not hand your judgment to someone who promises certainty about mysteries they cannot prove. Do not allow anyone to frighten you by claiming that your loved one is trapped and can be released only through money, secret rituals, or dependence upon that person. Traditional rites may be meaningful, but exploitation is not devotion. A sincere spiritual guide should direct the family toward prayer, righteous conduct, charity, acceptance, and remembrance of the divine, not toward endless fear. The soul's destiny is not owned by another human being. No medium controls karma. No stranger has authority over the eternal self. No missed sign means your loved one has been abandoned. The cosmic laws that guided the soul before birth do not disappear because the family cannot understand the next stage. The departed is held within an order far greater than human grief. This is why prayer should become surrender rather than control. You may pray, "May every pure action from this life become light upon your path. May every attachment be purified through wisdom. May fear dissolve. May confusion become clarity. If another birth awaits, may it offer the lessons needed for awakening. If a higher realm awaits, may you enter it peacefully. If liberation has ripened, may no remaining desire call you backward." Notice that this prayer does not demand one specific outcome. The living cannot see the soul's complete karma. They do not know whether another birth, an intermediate state, an ancestral realm, or a higher spiritual condition awaits. Humility does not weaken prayer, it purifies it. You are not commanding the universe to obey your preference. You are placing the soul within divine wisdom. The practice of Shraddha reflects this sacred responsibility. The word carries the sense of faith, sincerity, and heartfelt reverence. Its value does not lie only in the outer form of the offering, but in the consciousness with which it is performed. A family may prepare elaborate ceremonies while fighting over property, speaking cruelly, and ignoring the suffering around them. Another person may have little wealth yet offer water, a simple prayer, and food to someone in need with genuine love. Outer complexity does not automatically create inner purity. The most powerful offering is one that changes the person making it. If the ritual does not soften pride, deepen gratitude, or awaken compassion, its deepest purpose has been missed. When food is offered in memory of the departed, remember those who live without food. When water is offered, remember those who suffer from thirst. When a lamp is lit, allow ignorance within the family to be illuminated. When a mantra is recited, let the mind become quieter and more truthful. When charity is given, do not seek praise for generosity. Let every outer act become an inward transformation. Then, whether or not the soul directly perceives the ceremony, goodness has entered the stream of karma through the relationship. Some ask whether the departed soul can feel the family's love from a great distance or another realm. Physical distance may not describe subtle consciousness in the same way it describes bodies. Love itself is not a material rope stretching through space. It is an impression within consciousness, and deep relationships leave powerful samskaras, subtle traces created through repeated experience. A mother's kindness may remain inside the character of her children long after her death. A teacher's words may continue guiding students decades after the teacher's body returns to dust. A friend's loyalty may shape how someone treats every future relationship. In this sense, the departed remains present through consequences, memory, and transformation. The relationship has not disappeared, it has entered a new form. But even this continuing presence must not become another attachment. The purpose is not to preserve the personality forever exactly as it was. The deeper purpose is to recognize the sacred consciousness that shone through that temporary form. If you loved someone's compassion, do not only worship their photograph, allow compassion to awaken within you. If you loved their courage, become courageous. If you loved their devotion, deepen your own remembrance of the divine. The qualities through which you recognize their light can continue without demanding the return of their body. This is how memory becomes a spiritual inheritance. The soul may also perceive time differently after death. The living count minutes, days, and years because the body moves through sunrise and sunset. Without the physical senses, consciousness may not experience time through the same rhythm. A family may feel that 1 year has passed, while the departed soul's state cannot be translated into 1 earthly year. This is another reason we should not imagine the soul simply standing beside the home and counting the days until a ritual releases it. The subtle journey belongs to another order of experience. What matters for the living is not calculating every unseen movement, but ensuring that their contribution to the journey is peaceful. You may not know where the soul is, but you know what kind of energy you are creating in your own heart. Are you creating prayer or panic, forgiveness or revenge, unity or conflict, charity or greed, gratitude or endless accusation? The answer shapes your consciousness, and your consciousness is the sacred ground upon which your own future is being prepared. When a loved one dies, the mind may become trapped in the final scene. If death happened during illness, the family remembers the suffering body. If it happened through an accident, the mind repeats the tragedy. If it happened during conflict, the final angry words become unbearable. But the soul is not only its final moment. The entire life traveled to death. Every act of kindness mattered. Every sincere prayer mattered. Every struggle to change mattered. Every attachment also mattered. But one final scene did not erase all previous spiritual effort. When you speak to the departed, speak to the entire soul, not only to the image of the body at the end. Remember the child they once were, the people they helped, the mistakes they tried to correct, the love they gave imperfectly, and the lessons their life revealed. Release the final scene from being the complete definition of their journey. Say, your death was one moment. Your soul is greater than that moment. This is particularly healing after sudden death. A family may imagine the soul eternally frozen in fear because the body died unexpectedly. But the physical mind's final reaction does not necessarily describe the deepest condition of consciousness forever. The body may have experienced panic. The nervous system may have reacted, yet the soul carried an entire lifetime of tendencies, devotion, love, and spiritual growth. Sudden death can interrupt the outer story, but it does not erase every inner seed. Pray for clarity without creating a permanent image of the soul trapped inside its final fear. If someone died alone, do not torture yourself by imagining that the eternal self was abandoned. Human companionship may have been absent, but no soul exists outside the reality that supports all existence. Brahman is not present only when relatives surround the bed. The divine ground of being does not disappear in an empty room, a distant road, or an unexpected final hour. You may wish you had held their hand, and that wish deserves compassion. But do not transform your absence into the belief that the soul had no spiritual presence around it. Offer now the love you could not offer then. Allow it to become prayer rather than punishment. There may come a day when you realize that speaking to the departed is no longer about whether they can hear you. It is about becoming honest within your own heart. The words bring buried love into consciousness. They allow regret to become responsibility, grief to become service, and memory to become wisdom. Eventually, silence may become more powerful than speech. You sit beside the sacred lamp without asking for signs. You no longer demand to know where the soul has gone. You feel the love, recognize the mystery, and allow both to exist together. This silence is not emptiness, it is surrender. You understand that the soul's journey belongs to laws beyond your control, while your own journey still requires your attention. You cannot travel after the departed today, but you can become more conscious because they departed. You can repair the relationship that still has time. You can say the words another person should not have to hear only after death. You can stop treating ordinary mornings as though they are guaranteed. You can hold your parents with gratitude, listen to your children with patience, and thank the friend whose loyalty has become too familiar to notice. The dead may hear prayers in ways we cannot measure, but the living can certainly hear love now. Do not reserve your most beautiful words for funerals. Say, "I forgive you," while the person can still breathe with relief. Say, "I was wrong," while repair remains possible. Say, "I am grateful," while their eyes can still receive your gratitude. Say, "I love you," before silence makes the words heavy. This is the hidden teaching inside the question, can the soul hear me after death? Vedic wisdom turns the question back toward the living. Can the people beside you hear your love before death? Do not spend years withholding tenderness and then pour it all beside an unresponsive body. Let the awareness of death make you emotionally courageous. If the departed soul remains near for a time, offer words that release rather than bind. If it has already moved beyond your reach, let your prayer purify you. If it can receive your intention, may that intention become light. If it cannot receive it in the way you imagine, no sincere act of compassion is wasted. Goodness changes the living world. Prayer changes the heart. Forgiveness breaks karma's repetition. Service carries memory into action, and surrender prepares consciousness for freedom. The sixth golden truth is this: the departed may no longer hear through physical ears, but sacred intention is not limited to physical sound. Speak with love, pray with humility, and release without demanding a reply. Do not use grief to pull the soul backward. Use love to bless its movement forward. Place your hand upon your heart and say, "You left before I was ready, and there were words I still wanted to speak. If any part of my intention can reach you, receive this truth. I love you, I forgive what I am able to forgive, and I ask forgiveness for the pain I caused. I release you from the duties you can no longer perform. I will not call you backward through my despair. May every pure deed from your life become light. May every unfinished attachment be purified. May fear dissolve into clarity, and may the path before you open according to divine wisdom. I will remember you, but I will also continue living. Go forward in peace." Then stop demanding an answer. Allow the lamp to burn. Allow the tears to fall. Allow the silence to become sacred. Perhaps the soul receives the prayer. Perhaps the prayer becomes the beginning of your own healing. Perhaps both happen within a mystery that no human language can fully explain. What matters is that love is no longer a chain around the departed. It has become a light placed gently upon the path ahead. Lesson 7. The soul leaves when its next journey calls. After everything we have explored, the final question still remains. How long does the soul actually stay near the body? Is it a few hours, 3 days, 13 days? Does the soul wait until cremation, remain until the final ritual, or continue watching its family until every tear has fallen? The golden answer of Vedic wisdom is that no single earthly duration applies identically to every soul. Death is universal, but the condition of consciousness at death is deeply individual. 2 people may leave their bodies on the same day, in the same place, and through the same circumstance. Yet their inner journeys may be entirely different because they carry different karma, desires, attachments, knowledge, and spiritual maturity. One soul may quickly recognize that the body has completed its purpose and move onward without resistance. Another may remain strongly oriented toward the home because it spent a lifetime believing that its identity existed only through family, property, and earthly responsibility. A third may enter a subtle condition where earthly measurements of near, far, hours, and days no longer have the meaning they possess in physical life. The soul does not remain beside the body because the universe has forgotten to guide it. It remains connected while the forces of earthly identity are still active, while attachment continues pointing backward, or while the next karmic movement has not yet become fully established. When that next movement awakens, the journey continues. Imagine a seed resting silently beneath the soil. From the outside, nothing appears to be happening, yet hidden forces are gathering. Moisture enters, the shell softens, and life begins turning toward the conditions in which it can grow. The seed does not remain underground forever. When the right forces come together, it opens and moves toward its next form. In a similar way, the subtle being carries karmic seeds. Every action, intention, desire, fear, habit, and realization leaves an impression upon consciousness. Death removes the physical field in which these seeds were expressed, but it does not automatically destroy every seed. Those that still carry force turn consciousness toward the conditions through which they can ripen. This is why the soul's departure cannot be reduced to a clock. A clock measures the movement of the physical world. Karma measures the movement of consciousness. The family may count 13 sunrises, but the departed being may be experiencing a transition that cannot be divided into earthly mornings and nights. The body belonged to time. The subtle journey may unfold according to another order. The Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishads speak of different paths through which beings may move after death. These teachings are symbolic, profound, and interpreted in different ways across Vedic schools, but their central message is clear. Not every consciousness follows the same destination. Some move along a path associated with return, experience, and rebirth. Others, through knowledge, purification, and higher realization, move towards states from which ordinary earthly return no longer occurs in the same way. The destination depends not merely upon how death happened, but upon what consciousness became while life was happening. A person may die peacefully in an ancient temple, surrounded by sacred chants, yet still carry greed, pride, and powerful desire. Another may die unexpectedly on a lonely road, yet carry a heart shaped by devotion, compassion, and sincere surrender. The outer scene matters, but it does not reveal the entire inner condition. Death cannot be judged only by appearance. The world sees whether the body suffered. Karma sees how consciousness lived. The world sees whether the final words were sacred. Karma sees which tendencies were repeated for decades. The world sees whether the person died at home or far away. The soul carries every inner direction, wherever the body falls. This is why sudden death does not automatically trap a soul, and a long, peaceful death does not automatically create liberation. The manner of death may influence the first stage of transition, especially the soul's confusion or readiness, but it does not cancel the deeper laws shaped across an entire lifetime. When people ask, how long does the soul remain near the body? They often imagine the soul as a second physical person standing invisibly beside the corpse. But the subtle being should not be understood as another body obeying the same limitations as flesh. It may experience nearness through attachment, memory, identification, or unresolved desire rather than physical location. A soul can be karmically oriented toward its family without standing inside the home like an unseen resident. In the same way, a living person can move to another country while their entire mind remains attached to the house they left behind. Physical distance has increased, but inwardly they have not departed. The soul truly moves forward when consciousness releases the former identity and responds to the direction created by karma. For some beings, the next movement may involve a state associated with the ancestors. For others, it may involve another subtle realm where certain karmic results are experienced. For many, the continuing force of desire and karma leads eventually toward another birth. For the spiritually realized, the journey may open toward liberation from the cycle of compulsory return. These possibilities should not be treated like simple locations on an earthly map. The ancient teachings use the language of roads, realms, light, darkness, ascent, and return because human minds understand movement through images. Yet the journey of consciousness is more subtle than traveling from one physical village to another. What changes is the field of experience. During life, consciousness expresses itself through the human body and its senses. It sees through human eyes, thinks through a human mind, and experiences the world through human limitations. After death, that physical field ends. The subtle being is drawn toward another state consistent with its remaining tendencies. If another birth is required, the consciousness does not select a body through ordinary intellectual choice. The movement is guided by a complex relationship of karma, desire, circumstance, and the lessons still awaiting expression. A consciousness shaped by particular tendencies is drawn toward conditions in which those tendencies can unfold. The new environment may offer pleasure, suffering, responsibility, limitation, relationship, or opportunity, not as random cruelty, but as part of the continuing field through which the soul encounters the consequences of its direction. This does not mean every painful event in life can be simplistically blamed on one past action. Karma is far more complex than human judgment. No one should look at another person's suffering and arrogantly declare, "You deserve this because of a former life." Such certainty often disguises cruelty as spirituality. The true purpose of understanding karma is not to judge others. It is to awaken responsibility within ourselves. Every thought we strengthen matters. Every desire we repeatedly obey matters. Every act of compassion matters. Every hidden choice matters. Nothing sincere is wasted, and nothing repeatedly cultivated leaves consciousness completely unchanged. When death removes the body, the inner pattern remains. Suppose a person spends years feeding resentment. Every morning, they revisit an old betrayal. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to repeat the wound. Every success of the other person creates anger. Gradually, resentment is no longer something they feel. It becomes part of who they believe they are. At death, the enemy may be physically absent, but the habit of hatred continues as an impression. The soul does not need the other person's presence to remain bound. The chain has been carried within. Another person experiences betrayal, but works honestly through the pain. They do not deny what happened, yet they refuse to turn one wound into a permanent identity. Through time, wisdom, and spiritual practice, they release the need for revenge. The memory may remain, but its power to command consciousness weakens. Both people were harmed, but they prepared different inner futures. One repeatedly strengthened bondage, the other practiced liberation. This is how the soul's direction is shaped, long before the final breath. The same principle applies to desire. Desire itself is not always evil. Hunger moves the body toward food. Compassion moves the heart toward service. The desire for truth may begin a spiritual journey. The problem arises when desire becomes an unquestioned master and consciousness believes, I cannot be complete until this temporary object becomes mine. Every fulfilled desire creates another fear, the fear of losing what was gained. Every unfulfilled desire creates another chain, the demand to continue seeking. The mind moves from wanting to possessing, from possessing to protecting, from protecting to fearing, and from fearing to suffering. Death interrupts the body's participation in this movement, but may not immediately end the inner force that created it. This is why the final desire can influence what follows. Yet the final desire is rarely born only in the final second. It is often the final expression of what the mind practiced throughout life. If a river has flowed eastward for 80 years, it will not easily turn westward during its last few moments. In the same way, a mind directed constantly toward greed, jealousy, control, or pleasure cannot assume that one hurried prayer at death will erase every tendency. Sacred remembrance at the final moment has tremendous value, but its deepest power comes when remembrance has already become familiar. The divine name repeated through years of joy, suffering, service, and surrender forms a pathway within consciousness. When the body weakens and ordinary control disappears, the mind returns more naturally to what it has practiced. Therefore, prepare for death by changing the direction of life. Do not wait until the final hour to discover what rules your mind. Observe what you think about when no one is watching. Notice what makes you feel incomplete. Recognize which loss you believe would destroy your identity. Ask what your mind reaches for when it becomes afraid. These reveal the direction consciousness may follow when the body can no longer distract it. The soul's next journey is not a punishment imposed by an angry universe. It is the continuation of an education consciousness has not yet completed. If attachment remains, experience continues. If ignorance remains, life provides another field in which knowledge may awaken. If harmful tendencies remain, consequences reveal their nature. If compassion has grown, it becomes a source of light in whatever condition follows. Another birth should not always be imagined as failure. A student who returns to a lesson has not been abandoned by the teacher. The lesson remains available because learning is still possible. The tragedy is not merely that the soul returns. The tragedy is returning without becoming wiser. A person may pass through many lives while repeating the same greed under different names, the same anger in different families, and the same possessiveness through different relationships. The outer story changes, but the inner chain remains. Spiritual practice interrupts repetition. Awareness allows consciousness to see the pattern. Truthful action creates another direction. Devotion softens the ego. Service weakens selfishness. Meditation reveals that thoughts are objects within awareness, not the eternal self. Knowledge exposes the false belief that the individual is nothing more than the body and personality. As these realizations deepen, the need for compulsory return begins weakening. This brings us to the most profound distinction within the Vedic teaching. In ordinary language we say, the soul leaves the body, stays near the family, travels to another realm, and eventually enters another birth. This language refers to the jiva, the individual being associated with the subtle body, karma, memory, desire, and the sense of separate identity. But the highest Upanishadic wisdom points beyond the traveling jiva toward Atman, the eternal self. Atman does not travel from one place to another because it is not limited by physical space. It does not enter existence at birth. It does not become wounded by death. It does not grow older with the body. It does not stand beside the corpse waiting for permission to remain eternal. The deepest self is the light, because of which every experience becomes known. It is the awareness beneath childhood, adulthood, old age, dreaming, waking, pleasure, grief, and every changing identity. The body changes, yet the sense of being aware remains. Thoughts appear and disappear, yet something knows them. Emotions rise and fall, yet awareness witnesses their movement. Even the personality changes across one lifetime. But the foundation of consciousness is not merely one of those changes. The sages looked inward and asked, what is the nature of the witness that knows every experience but cannot itself be reduced to one passing experience? Their realization was revolutionary. The deepest self is not an isolated fragment trying desperately to survive inside a temporary body. It is rooted in Brahman, the limitless reality underlying all existence. From this highest perspective, the question, how long does the soul remain near the body, belongs to the level of the individual journey. It is meaningful because karma, grief, ritual, and transition are meaningful within lived experience. Yet the final wisdom asks an even greater question. Who is the self that was never imprisoned inside the body in the first place? A clay pot contains space. When the pot breaks, we may say, the space inside the pot has been released. But was that space ever truly separate from the space surrounding it? The walls created an appearance of division. When the walls disappear, the space does not need to travel anywhere to become limitless. The body and ego create the feeling, I am only this separate being enclosed within this form. When ignorance ends, consciousness recognizes that its deepest reality was never cut off from the whole. This is liberation. Moksha is not merely the soul finding a more beautiful place to live. It is freedom from the ignorance that creates compulsory birth, attachment, separation, and fear. It is the realization that the self is not born and cannot die. Until this realization becomes complete, the jiva continues according to karma. It leaves one body, passes through other conditions, and enters another field of experience. But Atman remains what it has always been, untouched awareness, the deathless ground beneath every appearance. This is the hidden reason death cannot destroy the soul. Death changes the form through which consciousness experiences. It does not destroy consciousness at its deepest source. When the soul's next journey calls, what does it carry? It does not carry the physical house, but it carries the attachment created through the house. It does not carry money, but it carries generosity or greed developed through money. It does not carry the human relationship in the same physical form, but it carries the love, control, forgiveness, jealousy, and lessons created through that relationship. It does not carry the body's beauty, but it carries the pride or gratitude shaped through that beauty. It does not carry public status, but it carries the inner condition created through power. It does not carry sacred clothing, titles, or appearances, but it carries whatever spiritual transformation actually occurred beneath them. The universe is not deceived by performance. A person may look deeply religious while remaining cruel at home. Another may possess little scriptural knowledge, yet serve every being with humility. Outer identity ends at death. The condition of consciousness remains. This is why the greatest preparation for death is not collecting religious appearances. It is allowing spiritual knowledge to change conduct. Let prayer become surrender. Let meditation become awareness during conflict. Let devotion become kindness toward other beings. Let knowledge remove pride rather than increase it. Let remembrance of death create gratitude rather than fear. When truth enters behavior, consciousness becomes lighter. A lighter consciousness does not mean a person has no responsibilities or relationships. It means they fulfill responsibilities without believing they own the outcome. They love their family without turning love into control. They work sincerely without making success the source of identity. They receive praise without becoming addicted to it, and criticism without allowing it to destroy the self. Such a person practices dying before physical death, not by rejecting life, but by allowing false identities to fall away while still alive. The ego says, "I must control everything." Surrender says, "I will act sincerely and release what I cannot command." The ego says, "This person belongs to me." Love says, "This soul has been entrusted to my care for part of the journey." The ego says, "My possessions make me important." Wisdom says, "Their value lies in how they are used." The ego says, "Death will erase me." The self silently reveals, "What is real in me was never created by the body." Every time wisdom replaces ego, a small death occurs. A false identity ends, and consciousness becomes freer. These smaller liberations prepare the soul for the greatest release. When the final hour comes, the family also has a sacred responsibility. If the person is dying consciously, do not fill the room with unresolved conflict. Do not force them to continue worrying about property, family arguments, or responsibilities they can no longer fulfill. Speak gently. Remind them of the divine. Offer forgiveness. Ask forgiveness. Tell them that the family will care for one another. Give them permission to release the body. If the person cannot respond, do not assume that sacred words are meaningless. Speak with dignity and calmness. Say, "You have given what you could. Your earthly duties are coming to completion. We release you from every responsibility that no longer belongs to you. Remember the divine. Do not be afraid. Move toward light, truth, and peace." If death has already happened, the same message may be offered in prayer. Its purpose is not to control the destination, but to remove the burden of earthly attachment. The family should not promise what it cannot fulfill. Do not tell the departed, "Everything will be perfect." Life will continue carrying difficulty. Say instead, "We will meet what comes with courage." You do not need to remain through fear. This is honest love. The rituals following death then become a continuation of this release. The body returns to the elements. Food and water are offered symbolically. Mantras are recited. Charity is performed. The departed is remembered, and the family gradually accepts that the relationship cannot continue through the body. But ritual should lead somewhere. If 13 days of ceremony end, and the family immediately returns to greed, hatred, and unconscious living, the deepest teaching has been missed. Death should awaken the living. It should remind the wealthy that nothing material crosses the final boundary. It should remind the proud that every title will be spoken for the last time. It should remind the angry that one unexpected breath may become the final opportunity for reconciliation. It should remind families that love cannot always be expressed later. Every funeral contains a message for those who return home. Your body is also temporary. The question is not only, where did this soul go? The question is, where is your consciousness going while you are still alive? Is it moving toward freedom or deeper attachment? Is it becoming more compassionate or more self-centered? Is suffering making you wiser or more bitter? Is spiritual knowledge changing your character or only decorating your identity? Are you practicing surrender or waiting for death to force it upon you? You may have many years left, but no one has been shown their guaranteed final date. Old age is not promised. Completion is not promised. The perfect moment to apologize, forgive, serve, love, or awaken may never arrive. Do not say, "I will become spiritual after my responsibilities end." Responsibilities continue changing until death. Do not say, "I will forgive when the other person apologizes." They may die before pride releases them. Do not say, "I will enjoy my family after I become successful." Success may consume the years in which they needed your presence. Do not say, "I will remember the divine when I am old." The final breath has never agreed to wait for old age. Begin now. This does not mean living in constant fear of death. Fearful awareness makes life smaller. Sacred awareness makes life more precious. A flower becomes more beautiful when you remember it will not bloom forever. A conversation becomes more meaningful when you recognize that no voice is guaranteed tomorrow. An ordinary meal becomes sacred when you understand that every family gathers together only a limited number of times. Impermanence does not destroy love. It removes carelessness from love. The person who knows that relationships are temporary does not withdraw emotionally. They become more fully present. They stop wasting years proving that they are right. They listen. They express gratitude. They give without waiting for a funeral to reveal what mattered. When someone has already died, the family may continue asking, "Are they still near us?" The answer may not be visible, but you can respond wisely regardless of the soul's exact location. If the soul remains near, let it encounter peace. If the soul has moved onward, let your prayer follow without attempting to pull it back. If another birth awaits, bless that future journey. If an ancestral or subtle realm awaits, offer remembrance with humility. If liberation has ripened, do not let your attachment demand another return. Love the soul enough to accept a destination you cannot see. This is difficult because human love wants reunion. People ask, "Will I meet them again?" Vedic traditions allow for karmic bonds through which souls may encounter one another across lives. Powerful relationships can return under different circumstances because unfinished lessons, debts, love, and attachment seek expression. But no one should promise that every relationship will return exactly as before. The purpose of the soul's journey is not to recreate one family forever through different bodies. The deeper purpose is awakening. If two souls need another meeting for learning, forgiveness, service, or growth, karma may bring their paths together. If separation is necessary for freedom, love must become spacious enough to accept it. A mother in one life may return through another relationship. An enemy may become someone through whom forgiveness must be learned. A companion may appear briefly, but transform the direction of an entire life. The outer roles change because the lesson is greater than the costume. The goal is not to possess the same personality forever. The goal is for love to reveal the unity beneath all personalities. At the highest level, the self within you and the self within the departed were never two completely separate realities. The bodies were different, the memories were different, and the karmic journeys were different, but the light of awareness arose from one limitless ground. This does not erase the pain of personal loss. When one specific face disappears, the heart misses that face. When one voice becomes silent, philosophical understanding does not immediately remove the emptiness. Grief deserves patience. Yet spiritual realization gradually changes the meaning of separation. You stop saying, "The sacred light I loved has been destroyed." You begin understanding, "The form through which I experienced that light has changed." The wave rises, takes a unique shape, and returns to the ocean. We grieve the shape because no other wave will be exactly the same. But the water has not vanished. The body was the wave. Consciousness is the water. The soul's journey continues until it recognizes the ocean as its own deepest nature. When this recognition becomes complete, the question of another birth ends. Desire no longer pushes consciousness toward another form. Karma no longer binds because the false sense of separate ownership has dissolved. The self is known as deathless. This is why moksha cannot be created merely by remaining near a corpse for a certain number of days, nor prevented because one ritual was incomplete. Ritual has meaning, devotion has meaning, karma has meaning, and the state of consciousness has meaning, but liberation ultimately concerns the ending of ignorance. The soul does not become eternal after death. It discovers that the deepest self was never non-eternal. The body begins and ends. The personality begins and ends. The social identity begins and ends. But being itself is not produced by the funeral fire, and the flame cannot consume it. If the soul has not yet realized this truth, the journey continues. That continuing journey is not outside the divine. No realm is beyond Brahman. No birth occurs outside the ground of consciousness. Even ignorance unfolds within the reality it fails to recognize. A person may search through forests, temples, mountains, scriptures, wealth, pleasure, and many lifetimes for a truth that exists at the center of the seeker. Like someone searching everywhere for a necklace already resting around the neck, consciousness moves through endless experiences while the self remains present beneath every search. When knowledge finally dawns, the movement of desperate seeking ends. The soul recognizes that what it wanted through temporary objects was the permanent wholeness of its own deepest nature. Then the need to remain near one body ends. The need to possess one relationship ends. The need to return for one final desire ends. Fear of death ends because the self is known as that which death never touched. Until that realization becomes complete, compassion must guide how we speak about the departed. Do not condemn a soul because you believe it stayed near the body too long. Do not frighten the grieving by claiming that every unusual sound proves the soul is trapped. Do not declare with certainty that one missed ritual destroyed the person's future. Human beings do not see the complete karmic tapestry. A soul may be working through a transition beyond our understanding. A prayer may be helping in a way we cannot measure. Another birth may already be forming. A higher state may already have opened. The family's task is not to become the judge of the unseen. The family's task is to offer love, duty, prayer, truth, and release. Perform the appropriate rites with sincerity when possible. Give charity without seeking praise. Care for those the departed left behind. Resolve conflict rather than creating more karma in their name. Remember the whole life, not only the final scene. Do not turn grief into superstition. Do not turn tradition into fear. Do not turn love into possession. If you feel the departed remains near, speak calmly. Do not demand signs. Say, your body has completed its purpose. Your earthly identity no longer needs to hold you. We will care for what remains. Take nothing from this home except the goodness that became part of your consciousness. Leave behind the fear, the regret, the unfinished argument, and the desire to control what can no longer be controlled. May divine wisdom guide your next movement. Then allow silence. The soul does not need to prove its existence for your grief to be valid. You do not need a supernatural event before giving yourself permission to heal. Healing does not mean forgetting. Moving forward does not mean betrayal. Laughing again does not mean the person was unimportant. Loving life after loss does not pull love away from the dead. The departed does not require your permanent suffering as evidence of devotion. If your relationship contained true love, let that love strengthen your ability to live with greater compassion. Continue what was noble, end what was harmful. Carry wisdom, not only pain. This is how the dead continue teaching the living. Perhaps the soul remained near the body for several hours. Perhaps it remained oriented toward the family through the traditional mourning period. Perhaps it moved onward more quickly than anyone realized. The exact duration may remain hidden because the deeper purpose of the teaching is not to satisfy curiosity alone. The real question is whether the soul can release what it must leave. The real question is whether the family can bless what it cannot keep. The real question is whether the living will awaken before their own final hour. The seventh golden truth is this: the soul remains connected only while connection serves the unfolding of its consciousness. When karma, desire, divine order, and the next field of experience call it forward, no physical wall can hold it beside the body. The soul may look backward through attachment, but the journey moves forward. The body returns to the five elements. The earthly name begins becoming memory. The family learns to live around the empty place. The karmic seeds turn toward their next field, and the conscious traveler enters a mystery no human eye can follow. Do not imagine this journey as abandonment. The same sacred reality present in this life exists beyond this life. Another body does not place the soul outside Brahman. Another realm does not separate consciousness from its eternal ground. Even when the soul does not recognize the divine, it cannot exist outside the divine reality. Therefore, when you stand beside someone who has died, do not see only a door that has closed. Another door may already be opening beyond your sight. You cannot cross it with them today, but you can stand at the threshold with courage. Bless the soul, release the body, complete the duties, repair the family, offer the prayer, transform the grief. Then turn toward your own life and ask what death has come to teach you. Maybe it has come to teach you that love must be spoken. Maybe it has come to teach you that pride wastes sacred time. Maybe it has come to teach you that possessions cannot provide immortality. Maybe it has come to teach you that your spiritual life cannot remain postponed. Maybe it has come to teach you that the person you keep taking for granted will not remain forever. Do not waste this teaching. Call the person you have been avoiding. Offer the apology you keep rehearsing but never speaking. Forgive where forgiveness is possible. Set wise boundaries where harm continues. Sit beside your parents while they are still here. Listen to your children before their childhood becomes a memory. Thank the friend whose loyalty you treat as ordinary. Use your wealth while your hands can still create goodness through it. Remember the divine while your mind can still choose its direction. One day, others may stand beside your body and ask how long your soul remains near. By then, the habits you practice today will have become part of the answer. Make surrender familiar. Make compassion familiar. Make truth familiar. Make divine remembrance familiar. Then, whenever death comes, consciousness will not be meeting complete strangers. It will be returning to the qualities it practiced throughout life. The soul leaves when its next journey calls, but you are shaping the direction of that journey now. Not tomorrow, not after every problem disappears, not when old age finally gives you time. Now, while you can still choose, live so that when the body is released, your consciousness is not surrounded only by things it cannot bear to lose. Live so that love has already become a blessing rather than possession. Live so that unfinished duties are few, apologies are not endlessly delayed, and spiritual truth has entered your character. Then death may still surprise the world, but it will not confront a soul that has never practiced letting go. And when someone you love has already crossed, place your hand upon your heart and offer this final blessing. You may have remained near us for a moment, a night, several days, or a period known only to the laws of consciousness, but you do not belong beside the body forever. The form we knew has completed its purpose, and the path ahead is calling you. We release you from this home, these possessions, these responsibilities, and the pain of our expectations. Carry every act of love as light. Allow every attachment to be purified through wisdom. If another birth awaits, may it become a field of awakening. If a higher realm awaits, may you enter without fear. If liberation has ripened, may no desire call you backward. We will grieve, but we will not imprison you inside our grief. We will remember, but we will not demand your return. Continue in peace beneath the guidance of eternal truth. Then allow the soul to go where human eyes cannot follow. The body may remain before you for a little while, but the traveler is already responding to eternity. Karma opens the road. Desire reveals the direction. Prayer offers light. Love releases its claim. And beyond every road, every realm, every birth, and every death waits the final recognition that the soul's deepest self never truly left the limitless reality from which all existence arises. And now we return to the question that opened this sacred journey. How long does the soul remain near the body after death? The deepest Vedic answer is not a number that can be placed upon every soul. The body may stop in a single moment, but the separation of consciousness from earthly identity can unfold according to karma, attachment, desire, spiritual understanding, and the manner in which the person learned or refused to learn the art of surrender. Some souls may release the body quickly and move toward the next stage without resistance. Others may remain connected to their home, loved ones, possessions, or unfinished duties because the feeling of mine is still powerful. The traditional first hours, 3 days, and 13-day period should therefore be understood as sacred stages of prayer and release, not as a prison sentence that applies identically to every departed being. The soul does not remain beside the body forever. The physical form returns to the 5 elements. The earthly name slowly becomes memory. The responsibilities are placed into other hands. The home continues without the familiar footsteps, and the family learns to live around an absence that once seemed impossible. But the conscious traveler moves onward. Where it goes cannot be decided by human curiosity. Its direction is shaped by the life it lived, the tendencies it strengthened, the attachments it carried, and the truth it recognized within itself. If another birth is needed, consciousness is drawn toward another field of experience. If a higher realm awaits, the journey opens beyond earthly sight. If realization has become complete and every binding desire has ended, the cycle of compulsory return falls away. This is why the manner of death cannot reveal the soul's complete destiny. A peaceful death does not automatically create moksha, and a sudden death does not permanently trap the soul. The final moment matters, but it carries an entire lifetime within it. Every act of compassion travels as light. Every selfish action leaves its shadow. Every sincere prayer deepens an inner path. Every desire repeatedly obeyed becomes a direction. Every attachment eventually asks to be released, and every moment of spiritual awakening moves consciousness closer to freedom. If someone you love has died, do not imagine them eternally frozen inside their final physical moment. They are greater than the accident, illness, fear, or silence through which the body ended. Their entire life traveled with them. The love they gave, the mistakes they made, the lessons they learned, the devotion they practiced, and the attachments they still needed to understand. Remember the whole soul, not only the final scene. Do not punish yourself because there was no perfect goodbye. Human beings rarely receive enough time to say everything the heart carries. There is always another conversation we believed would happen, another apology we postponed, another embrace we assumed could wait. If words remain within you, offer them now through prayer. Ask forgiveness, give forgiveness. Express the love pride once kept silent. Then allow those words to change the way you treat the people who are still standing beside you. Let the departed become your final teacher. If their death revealed that life is uncertain, stop postponing love. If their absence revealed the emptiness of pride, repair the relationship you still have time to repair. If their funeral revealed that possessions cannot cross death's boundary, use what you have to create goodness while your hands can still act. If their departure revealed that every body is temporary, begin seeking the self that does not disappear when the body falls. Do not waste what grief has shown you. Grief has shown you that control is limited. Let that become surrender. Grief has shown you that time is sacred. Let that become presence. Grief has shown you that unspoken love becomes regret. Let that become courage. Grief has shown you that every family must one day separate. Let that become compassion rather than fear. The awareness of death is not meant to make you stop living. It is meant to awaken you from careless living. When you understand that every meeting is temporary, an ordinary meal becomes sacred. A familiar voice becomes precious. The hand you hold today becomes a blessing, rather than something you assume will always be there. Love more deeply, but possess less tightly. Serve sincerely, but surrender the result. Protect your family, but do not imagine they belong to you forever. Build a life, but remember that you are more than everything you build. The greatest preparation for death is not predicting when it will come. It is removing the attachments that make truth unbearable. It is learning to release pride, resentment, greed, and control while the body is still alive. Each time you forgive without denying truth, a chain weakens. Each time you act without demanding praise, a chain weakens. Each time you observe desire without becoming its servant, a chain weakens. Each time you remember the divine during ordinary life, death becomes less capable of making that remembrance unfamiliar. Then, when the final hour arrives, surrender will not be a stranger. Consciousness will have practiced it through every truthful choice. My beloved soul, if you are grieving someone whose body has returned to silence, place your hand upon your heart and breathe slowly. You do not need to solve the entire mystery tonight. You do not need to know exactly which realm has received them or how many hours they remained near you. Offer what you can give: love without possession, prayer without panic, remembrance without obsession, and trust without pretending that the pain is easy. Say within your heart, "You left before I was ready, but I will not believe that your soul was destroyed. Your body has completed its purpose, and your earthly duties have ended. I release you from the responsibilities you can no longer fulfill. I forgive what I am able to forgive, and I ask forgiveness for the pain I caused. May every pure intention from your life become light upon your path. May every unfinished attachment be purified through wisdom. If another birth awaits, may it guide you closer to awakening. If a higher realm awaits, may you enter without fear. If liberation has ripened, may no desire call you backward. I will remember you with love, but I will not imprison you inside my grief. Continue your journey in peace. Then allow silence to complete the prayer. Do not demand a sign. Do not force an answer. Do not mistake every dream or sound for proof that the soul is trapped. If a peaceful dream comes, receive it with gratitude. If no dream comes, do not believe your prayer was rejected. The soul's journey does not need to become visible before it can be sacred. Perhaps the departed remained near for hours. Perhaps their connection continued through the traditional mourning period. Perhaps they moved onward more quickly than anyone understood. The exact duration belongs to a mystery governed by consciousness, karma, and divine order. Your responsibility is not to pull the soul backward. Your responsibility is to bless the road ahead. Complete the righteous duties they left unfinished. Care for the people they loved. Give charity in their memory. End the conflict they could not end. Allow something noble from their life to continue through your hands. Then their memory will no longer produce only tears. It will produce compassion, unity, service, and awakening. This is how grief becomes wisdom. This is how memory becomes prayer. This is how attachment becomes blessing. And this is how love survives without demanding the return of the physical form. The highest Vedic truth carries us even deeper. We speak of the soul leaving, staying, traveling, and returning, because this describes the journey of the individual being. Yet the Upanishads reveal that the deepest self, Atman, was never imprisoned within the body. Like space appearing to be contained inside a clay pot, consciousness seems limited by the human form. When the pot breaks, space does not die. It is recognized as never having been separate from limitless space. In the same way, the body's ending does not create the eternity of the self. It reveals that what was truly eternal could never be buried, burned, drowned, wounded, or destroyed. The body was born, the body aged, the body died, but the deepest awareness beneath every changing experience was never merely the body. Until this truth is completely realized, the individual soul may continue through karma, desire, and rebirth. But every sincere step toward wisdom matters, every act of devotion matters, every surrender of ego matters, every awakening of compassion moves consciousness away from bondage. Death cannot erase those movements. It cannot destroy the spiritual growth already planted. It cannot cancel the soul's possibility of liberation, so do not look upon death only as a door that violently closed. Look deeper. Another door may already have opened beyond your sight. You cannot follow the departed through it today, but you can stand where you are with prayer instead of panic, love instead of possession, and trust instead of despair. Bless the soul, release the body, honor the life, complete the duties, transform the grief, awaken your consciousness, and remember the final golden truth. The soul may remain near the body for a moment, several days, or a mysterious period known only to the laws of consciousness, but it was never created to remain there forever. When the next journey calls, the soul must move forward. The family remains on the shore. The body returns to nature. Karma opens the road. Prayer offers light. Love loosens its final claim. And the eternal self remains untouched beneath every arrival and departure. If this teaching brought clarity or peace to your heart, subscribe to Akashic Vedas, share this message with someone who is grieving, and write in the comments, may every departed soul move forward in peace, light, and liberation. Until we meet again, live consciously, love without delay, and remember, the body may remain before your eyes for a little while, but the soul has already begun answering the call of eternity.